So I don't know if you've been spending any time on the internet lately. Do you get the reference? More specifically, in the corners of the internet that are dedicated to a more highbrow intellectual analysis of, I feel like we got the reference. Celebrity gossip and drama. I know, I too would like to think that I'm above this form of entertainment, but my Reddit history speaks for itself. So during my time, like hanging out in these nooks and crannies of the internet, I noticed something fascinating that I just had to investigate. Every time Drake's name entered the chat, the word incel wasn't too far away. At first, I have to say, I thought it was kind of hilarious. I mean, it is pretty hilarious. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny, okay? Like, it's not nice. It's kind of mean. It's very mean, but it was funny. Like, I don't believe in punching down, but by all means. But then I started to ask myself, but why? The thing is, this whole like calling Drake an incel thing wasn't just a one-off. It was like I observed that this was a full-blown trend. There's a saying in branding: a brand is not what you say it is. A brand is what other people say you are. And the people have spoken. People are calling Drake an incel. This is a very serious PR, branding, communications problem to solve, people. This guy's brand is worth millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. And right now, people are calling him an incel. That is a problem. Let's deconstruct it. It's going to be a good video. Sit tight like a tiger. And if you like what you're watching, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. I've got like no subscribers and nobody watches my videos. So it would be nice if someone watched my videos because they're good. I know my shit's good. I'm good at what I do. I'm going to get better. There's room for improvement, but like, I've got the sauce. You know? So first things first, let's establish this right out of the gate. Critics of the Drake brand have been calling him a misogynist for a long time. And this misogynist label that's been associated to the Drake brand far outdates any digital footprint that exists on the internet based on what I could find associating the Drake brand to inceldom. Drake's critics have been saying that there's a darker side to this nice guy persona when you dig deep enough. The earliest traces I could find of Drake the misogynist bylines in the media date to around 2013. There might have been traces before then on Twitter, but I don't have Twitter, okay? And this is compared to the earliest traces of Drake the incel label I was able to find, which dates back to only about 4 years. Also, something that's super important is that this connection between like Drake and inceldom is something that appears only on social media, as compared to Drake the misogynist that lives not only in traditional media, but also on social media. More specifically, this slander first appears in a subreddit dedicated to the clowning and trolling of Drake called 𝙧𝙚𝙖𝙡𝙮 the Type. There's also traces of early comment discussions we could find in subreddits such as 𝑟BluePill and 𝑟HipHop that date back around 2 years. So I let my curiosity get the best of me, and it actually does seem that Drake the incel connection appeared on Twitter before it appeared on Reddit. I was able to find early tweets dating back to around 2018, but I'm going to focus my discovery on Reddit because Reddit makes me happy and Twitter does not. But at this point, it's like posts, comments, and discussions associating Drake to inceldom are spread really thin. It's not much to write home about. The volume in terms of posts and discussions and comments associating Drake to inceldom really only start picking up the pace around 4 months ago and really hit a peak around October 2022, which is right around the time that he released his latest album, which was a collaboration with 21 Savage called Her Loss. From my perspective, and this is just my perspective, based on my unscientific internet sleuthing, The trend of associating the Drake brand to inceldom is really only solidified on what will now be, I hereby declare, the iconic date of November 4th, 2022. On November 4th of 2022, two leading influencers in their respective spaces, 𝙧𝙚𝙖𝙡𝙮 and Hassan Abi, both fired off tweets. These tweets reinforced the idea that Drake had officially somehow entered his incel era. It's important to note that in this day and age, thought leaders like 𝙧𝙚𝙖𝙡𝙮 and Hassan Abi are the individuals that co-sign ideas in the same way rappers co-sign domestic abusers. Yes, exactly. Wait, let me get a snack, actually. I need a little snack to like kind of pull me over. Snack break. Let's have a snack break. Cashy Lean, 10 grams of protein, 11 grams of fiber, only 1.5 grams of fat. This is not a sponsorship. I'm not cool enough or have enough clout to get sponsorships. Well, I'm setting the scene, you know? I'm establishing the foundation now. It doesn't hurt to dream. On November 4th of 2022, 𝙧𝙚𝙖𝙡𝙮 fires off a tweet, and she says, Drake posted hentai on his public story, then called Megan Thee Stallion a I think he's officially an incel. And then Hassan Abi on November 4th of 2022 fires off another tweet, and he says, Drake is on his incel arc after years of being a, quote, nice guy. Dun, 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 dun. It's official now. It's official now. The reason why my internet sleuthing has led me to point my finger at 𝙧𝙚𝙖𝙡𝙮 and Hassan Abi is because prior to their tweets reverberating across the Twitter space, the Drake incel energy allegation and slander was limited to like anonymous accounts on Reddit. And I'm sorry, but anonymity doesn't hold quite as much weight as someone who puts their government name to the slander. It just doesn't. So I point my finger at them. These two are the main perps. They're the perps. Let's address the Rose tweet first. So calling Megan Thee Stallion a fair. Whack as I have a bone to pick with the hentai though. Is that really where you draw the line? Because what about 3D Monster Prawn? If you're a mentally stable, consenting, self-aware adult, and it's not one of the philias, you know, can fantasy just be fantasy? So cute with the alien with the tentacle. You know, what about that? And also, there's one more perpetrator in this story. There's one more perp. The third perp in this story is 𝙧𝙚𝙧𝙮. Even though they didn't call Drake an incel, with their latest video called From Nice Guy to Misogynist in Under a Decade, which is a great video, watch it, they also gave weight and solidified this idea that there's been an energy shift. Let's move on to understanding the allegations, the essence of the slander. The word incel is being used to brand Drake in a few different ways, but the essence of the slander is that, I'm going to give you my internet scammer hand performance. Drake has been accused of exhibiting a kind of vibe shift that sees him evolve from a nice lover boy type to full-blown incel in 15 years. So in order to investigate this evolution, the only thing one can really do is take a little time machine and dissect his body of work from the very beginning. So in order to study this and try to pick apart this evolution in his persona, I literally read every single lyric to every single song across every single one of Drake's albums, skipping only 2 or 3 since 2006. I went as deep, as hard and deep as anybody could to analyze his relationship to women and how that has evolved over time. And I have some breaking news for you. This just in, hot off the press. And Darla reporting live from her bedroom. I am here to confirm with you that this so-called incel arc does not exist. It's a lie. It is fundamentally and categorically, fervently, unequivocally false. And I will argue that if Drake is on any type of arc, it's not an incel arc. It's more of a Andrew Tate manosphere arc. So let's dive into the arc. Our little friend Drake has evolved in countless ways throughout the years. We've seen throughout the span of his career, his relationship to money, friends, family, the industry, the game. We've seen all of those things evolve. But if there's one thing that somehow has escaped Darwin's theory of evolution and somehow managed to stay cryonically frozen in time, is Drake's relationship to women. Most importantly, his patterns are as toxic today as they were in 2006. No change, no arc, no evolution, same old shit. He's been on his bullshit, which is part of the problem. We'll get to that. Quote, Drake's corniness, outward kindness, and lack of sexual aggression has been misinterpreted as an overarching respect for women. He's even been referred to as a feminist. But Drake is as much a feminist as Rachel Dolezal is a black woman. His entire catalog is steeped in respectability politics, accepting women as far as their body count goes. Where my issue with the vibes, and the narrative surrounding Drake at the moment is that it misses a key part of the story. Drake has always presented himself as a kind of bilateral, dueling character. His entire discography is marked by this inner battle between the two sides of Drake. On one hand and on one side, we have Drake, the certified nice soft lover boy, and on the other hand we have Drake the demon, Drake the dog. Drake wants to be good, but he's tormented by this darkness that seeks to overpower him at every turn. Now, on the other hand, we have the Drake woman, or rather the woman of Drake, because possession and objectification is a big part of how he characterizes women. The women of Drake have always been presented as this kind of trigonic figure. There are three types of women in Drake's world, and Drake's dueling character is constantly engaged in a kind of push and pull, cat and mouse dance between the three. It's messy, it's dark, and it's toxic as It's basically all of my past relationships combined. Quote, tell her that I love her and I hate her in the same sentence. Now let's break down the dueling character of Drake, and then we'll break down the trigonic figure of the Drake woman. This will allow us to understand why this incel arc is fiction, is false, is fundamentally flawed. First, we have the Drake that everybody knows and used to love. Drake, the angel, the soft boy, the certified lover boy. When Drake is moving in this side of his personality, he is the hunted. He is the prey. He's vulnerable to these slithering Jezebels that are trying to play him, use him, and abuse him at every turn. And this side of his personality lets himself get used and hurt and disappointed by these women. This side of Drake's personality is also the savior. He's benevolent. He's generous. When he loves a girl, he'll give her the world. He'll literally take your ass out of the ghetto and Georgina Rodriguez your life. This side of Drake is the side that we can analyze in his body of work as being self-aware, self-deprecating, maybe even a little insecure. He takes accountability for his actions. He knows, it's like he kind of knows he ain't shit. he kind of knows that he might not have exactly what it takes to satisfy what TikTok loves to refer to as a high-value woman. This side of Drake is supportive and non-judgmental. He loves himself an independent woman. He would never, ever judge a woman for having to engage in whatever hustle she needs to in order to provide for herself. In fact, he'll empower her in it and cheer her on. This is your get yourself some lobster and shrimp girl Drake. Opposing Drake the angel, the nice soft lover boy, we have Drake the demon, Drake the dog. I'm getting a little cold. I'm actually gonna put the shirt back on. Now that you've seen the body, I get to put the shirt back on because it's kind of cold. I live in Canada. When he's operating in his demon mode, Drake is ego-driven. He only cares about fame, money, power, and in this mode, Drake is also the hunter. He conquers women. He's dominant, a horn dog. He gets who he wants, when he wants, and he wants them all, as long as they're a 10. But here's the thing. This Drake is non-committal. He doesn't want to settle down. In fact, settling down kills his mojo. He wants to keep playing the field. This is the Drake that is a certified He is not trustworthy. He's a cheater. He thinks we don't know he's cheating, but we know he's cheating. He wants his cake and he wants to eat it too. For him, it's all about the chase. It's all about charming people. It's all about the adrenaline rush, and he loves to play with fire. As soon as he's got it, as soon as he's conquered it, as soon as he's trapped it, it's not as interesting anymore. And this is the Drake that considers himself to be wise and awake. He sees women for what they really are. And that is nothing more than gold diggers and groupies. Oh yeah. And this is a Drake. Yeah. This is a Drake, he lives the fast life. He's a little bad boy. He's a thug, a gangster. Women go up to him and they're like, "Ooh, why do you look so clean cut for a gangster? Wardrobe malfunction." The wig. Then we have the Drake woman, or rather the women of Drake. In the universe of Drake, there are 3 women. We have the good girl. We have the good girl gone bad. And we have the bad girl. First of all, let's just set the scene here. She's a 10, no less than a 10. She's so beautiful. She could literally have, if she chose to, have her entire life paid and sponsored by men. But no, she chooses to go the respectable route. She gets an education. She goes to college, most likely Howard. This is the woman that's traditional. She's low key. Tending to her man gives her the utmost joy and purpose. She has no male friends. Her Instagram is private. This is the girl that seeks stability, trust, and commitment. Most importantly, and this is the most important characteristic of the good girl, is that she was a virgin before him. Like a diamond in the rough, he discovered her, untouched, untainted, and debuted her into society. And he's the one that taught her how to be a nasty little but she's only nasty with him. Intermission. I need to put a sweater on now because it's cold. Welcome to Canada. It's 29 degrees in my apartment during the day and it goes down to minus 10 Celsius at night. So now I'm cold. So I'm going to put a sweater on. And we're also going to sit down because I've been standing for too long. Okay, much better. Have a seat. My desk has hydraulics. We'll continue the video right after this song. YouTube's gonna give me a hernia. You know what I hate about starting a channel is that everybody I talk to is like, YouTube is so hard. And it's like everything is hard. Life is hard. Pushing a baby out of your vagine is hard. If you're going into life with that mindset, good luck in any entrepreneurial endeavor. Quick, easy money the markers of a scam. Let me run my mental health through the ground trying to pop off on YouTube. So let's continue with Drake. The good girl gone bad has all the same characteristics as the good girl, only she's the one that, unfortunately for her, in Drake's mind, has succumbed to the dark side. This is the woman that almost always has realized the power of her beauty and the power of her sex and has decided to leverage that in order to move up in the world. She chooses what in Drake's mind is the easy way out. But she hasn't fully sold her soul to the devil yet. The good girl gone bad has one foot in good girldom and one foot in bad girldom. So, for example, she might still be in college getting her degree at Howard, but she also does bottle service on the weekends. She fraternizes with members of the opposite sex. She has friends that are men. Oh no! And according to Drake, because of this, she's confused, distracted, misguided, kind of like a lost soul. She's lost her way. She was going in the right direction and she had a lot of potential, but she's squandering that and she's not ever going to meet her potential if she continues being a little. And also, this is the girl that's starting to chase some of the same things, coincidentally, that Drake the demon chases. So in Drake's world, it's misguided when a woman chases the very same things that he himself chases. The main characteristic of the good girl gone bad in the universe of Drake, almost always the woman that has managed to escape his controlling grip. The minute he doesn't have possession and ownership over her, that's when she starts moving in the category. That's when she makes her way down the iceberg to so we can understand or assume that the minute a woman is not his, she somehow becomes everyone's. And that is what devalues her, taints her, and takes all the potential away from her. And now we have the bad girl. This is that she's just the one, the baddest, the dopest, the flyest, the hottest. The bad girl is almost always a sex worker. She is the stripper. She is star. She is maybe an escort. This is the woman that has made what he considers to be a deal with the devil. She has fully decided to submit her soul to trading and moving in this world by trading entirely on sex and beauty. In the universe of Drake, the bad girl, she's not just any stripper. She's not just any star. She's not just any escort. She is the one that dominates and shines and draws all of the attention in every single room she walks in. She is like the superstar world touring stripper. She is the one that is excelling and at the top of that game, the top of her game. And this is the woman that thinks like a man, right? She plays the game in the same way that men play the game. Much like Drake the demon or Drake the dog, the bad girl is also a character that is portrayed as being ego-driven. She's chasing money, fame, power, clout, material things, everything that Drake himself, when he's in his demon dog mode, is also chasing. Drake also kind of portrays this woman as someone who's like dangerous, someone who potentially is kind of broken, comes from a broken home. And as a result, she breaks other people and she'll go as far as potentially, setting someone up in order to steal money or jewelry or whatever. She'll go as far as blackmailing someone in order to get money. She plays dirty. So she's a threat. She's not a frivolous threat. This is the type of threat that can put his life in jeopardy and ruin him. But this life as the hustler, this has given this woman, this bad girl, a great deal of independence, which means that she doesn't need Drake. She doesn't need any man. She holds her own, and that is a problem because someone who holds her own can't be controlled. So from 2006 all the way to present day Drake, 2022, her lost Drake. The universe of Drake is marked by entanglements with these three types of women. And the pattern with these three women is defined by the following dynamic. Drake wants the good girl. He wants her. He loves her. He likes her. But once he has her, she's not enough anymore. In fact, it's like being a good boy and the stable, calm, settled down life actually kills his mojo. And at some point, he gets a little like an animalistic, doggish, I'm a dog, I'm a man, instinct to like get back out there and assert his dominance in this world of pussy and money. It's as if settling down makes him insecure that he's lost his manhood. So he lets this insecure side of him and these demonic temptations sabotage a good thing and has him falling into the trap of the slithering bad girl. And by the time he's actually realized his mistake and what he's lost, the good girl has almost always either A, moved on, she's married, has a baby by now, and isn't answering his DMs anymore, or B, she becomes the good girl gone bad. She is no longer just his. She crosses over into the territory of belonging to everyone. And so the woman that he almost always ends up falling in the arms of is the bad girl. But the bad girl represents a real problem for Drake because with the bad girl, he's met his match. Even though the bad girl represents the ultimate conquest, because she's the woman that all the men in the game, in the jungle, desire, locking her down. That is the ultimate show of dominance for Drake. When he walks into the strip club, everybody's gonna know, yeah, that's the man. He's the man. And never underestimate just how far men will go to be the man to other men. This bad girl represents a gigantic problem for Drake because his conquest of her is entirely dependent on the bad girl stepping away from the life and from the lifestyle and from the characteristics that made her so desirable in the first place. Because in Drake's world, a woman is only valuable if she belongs to him. The fact that the bad girl is a sex worker means that she belongs to everyone. So the only way to truly conquest the bad girl is to take her off the streets and make her entirely his. AKA, she needs to walk away and abandon the identity that made her that and made Drake want her in the first place. But the thing about the bad girl is that she's not an idiot. She, again, is a reflection of Drake, the demon. She is a hustler. She sees the game he's playing, and she knows that if she walks away from everything that made her so attractive in the first place and transforms into the good girl, that all that may backfire and she risks losing everything. It's not a bet she's willing to take. So why would the bad girl transform herself in this respectable being just to get played? For what? She sees his game. She doesn't trust it. She knows she's just gonna get cheated on and played and all that. So no, she's not willing to make that compromise. And what makes it such a toxic relationship is that for as long as Drake stays in the bad girl's life and the bad girl stays in his life and she chooses not to walk away from the life, she will be subjected to his shaming, judgments, gaslighting, controlling behavior, and let's just say it, let's just put it out there. Psychological abuse, because that's what it is. Drake the demon is a psychological abuser of women, period. There's literally no ambiguity there. That's just what it is. If any of you recognized the characteristics of Drake the Demon's relationship with women in any one of your friends or family members, you would tell them to get out of the relationship as quickly as possible or risk not waking up one morning. But what's funny to me with this dynamic that Drake has with women, the women of Drake, and especially with the dynamic he has with the bad girl that he frames as being so dangerous to him, literally potentially being a threat to his life, is that she's really just a reflection of the same kind of energy Drake the Demon puts out into the world. And this is a metaphor for life. I don't mean to get all woo-woo, but I am half Italian. You see that? That's the evil eye. That's what we call the allocchio. Actually, this is an evil eye repeller. Okay, it's a repellent of the evil eye. You attract the vibes you put out. And the that he paints the bad girl as bringing into his life, he's asking for it. And so it's really hard to buy into the victim narrative that he sometimes reverts to in his body of work. Tell me about the context of your romantic coupling, and I will tell you everything about the future of your relationship. I'm just going to put it out there. You got together with a woman who cheated on you with her boyfriend because you were more popping than him. And now you're crying me a river because she cheated on you with someone who was more popping than you. You can't be the man and relevant in the moment forever. Find better people who have better values and who will love you in your worst moments and will love you in your best moments, not just people who are around when it's beneficial to them. Now, where things get really interesting and where things get really complex and mischaracterized in the media is that Drake has always painted himself as a character that is aware of all of this. He's acutely aware of his own. I don't know to what full extent, but there is a level of self-awareness there. When he's in his good guy mode, Drake is fully aware that he's the problem and he has to change. When Drake is in his bad guy mode, not so much, obviously. And I think this is precisely what has made him so likable and relatable as a character over the years. Whether we like it or not, Drake has a huge fan base, and this is exactly why. That is essential in understanding the Drake brand. Omitting and ignoring what has contributed to his likability is ignoring a possible path forward in potentially negotiating some kind of change with him. So if the character of Drake has always been one of duality, existing somewhere between good and evil, why is it that he's gotten away with being branded a nice guy, a certified soft lover boy for all these years? What's important to take in consideration is that based on what I was able to find online, I don't think Drake ever self-branded himself a nice guy. In fact, I was recently watching a Solar video / documentary, and while Drake has gone on record admitting that he makes music for women and dusty men, he's also gone on record firmly rejecting this emotional soft guy label. From what I understand, he kind of finds it annoying that he was and has ever been branded that way. As far as I'm concerned, the media branded Drake that way. And also early on in Drake's career, Ghostface Killah had a list called the 10 softest list, and Drake found himself on it a few times. So you can argue that this may have also contributed even just a little bit to the brand stamp. And so to me, this Drake ever having been a nice, soft guy is 100% a case of the media's capacity at or of selective attention. The media has the power and the propensity of paying attention to reinforcing the narratives that it wants to reinforce. When Drake first came out on the scene, even though he was trolled and even though he was clowned, it was popular to like Drake. And so the media liked Drake, and he benefited from a positive narrative and a positive branding for years. But let me be very clear on this. The clues and the red flags have always been there. They've always existed. And so this arc doesn't exist, as I said. There is no arc as far as his toxic and problematic and dangerous relationship with women. It's been trash. And so why is it that Drake was able to get away with a nice guy brand for so long? So 𝙧𝙚𝙖𝙡𝙮 made a video that dives into this. So I invite you to watch it. Part of what they argue is that Drake was able to get away with a nice guy narrative for so long because unlike so many rappers, so many of his peers, he wasn't outwardly an aggressor. We gave him flowers because unlike his peers, he wasn't trafficking, murdering, and physically assaulting women. He was just psychologically assaulting them. And in our society, if people can't see the pain physically, they don't think it exists. So the violence of Drake as a character has always been more subtle than his peers, and so more easily missed or more easily ignored or more easily diminished or not taken as seriously. So of course, imagine you're the media, early 2000s. On a spectrum, Drake enters the scene and he seems relatively tame, a breath of fresh air. And so it would have been hard at the beginning of his career not to like him, especially before the movements that were going to come later in the 2010s, which is where I think things really shifted for him and for his brand. Ugh, I'm hot now. Oh my God. I just can't. This life. Oh no, my wig. I guess we're just going to kill the wig because this is not working out for me today. So this brings us back to the question. We've established that Drake's alleged incel arc is fiction. So why is Drake being labeled an incel if he is very clearly, obviously not that? Why is he being accused of exhibiting incel energy if the vibes have been the same since 2006? Well, over the past 15 years, while Drake has cryonically managed to escape evolution as it pertains to his relationship with women, what has changed is society. Society is not the same it was 15 years ago. In 15 years, we've had a whole bunch of social movements. We've had movements. We've had movement. I mentioned this in my inclusivity video. Over the past decade, America, for example, has moved a little bit more to the left. The left has made some gains. And so it seems that the Drake brand doesn't seem to be keeping up with these societal shifts and these societal changes. It's out of step with the moment. And so calling him an incel on the internet is just a way for the internet to shine light on this problematic narrative that he has with women that has remained unchanged. Like, it's time to stop. Cut it out. It's enough now. So while the incel arc isn't real, the subtext that the internet is attempting to shine light on via the diss is very real. And the subtext is people are not with you and the way you talk about women anymore. The incel diss also shines light on a subtext that I think goes beyond just his relationship to women. I think that people are just dissing him in that way because they're just done with him and his whole spiel in general. People have a lot of grievances with Drake beyond just his relationship to women. People think he doesn't put his money where his mouth is when it comes to like his own people, black people. People have very serious grievances with his professional collaborations, and people have very serious grievances with some of his behavior in the past with younger women. But I want to bring your attention particularly to the collaborations because this is something that we don't talk enough about. Tell me who your business partners are, and that will tell me everything I need to know about who you are. Over time, people have found very serious bones to pick with some of Drake's professional collaborations. People really don't with the fact that he collaborated with Chris Brown. People really don't jive with the fact that he collaborated with Baka Not Nice. And people really don't jive with the fact that he collaborated with Ian Connor. Who are you even? Who is he even now? But he was popping at a moment. So all of this has been bubbling under the surface for years. And then the coup de grâce, as we say in French, the climax of this all occurred in October-November 2022 when he dropped his latest album, Her Loss. And once again, nothing has changed. The same narrative about women. And not only that, like very clear pointed disses towards women that we now know undeniably for a fact were victims of a crime, and people weren't buying it. People were over it. And so this volume of people calling Drake an incel just increased from that point on. In this album, people really zeroed in on his comment about Moroccan women and his comment about Megan Thee Stallion. But in Her Loss, in 2022, Drake, in one of his lyrics, was alluding to the trafficking of women. And to me, that really made me look at the lover boy side of his persona with a different perspective. In light of Andrew Tate's arrest, there's been a spotlight put on the different tactics that pimps and sex traffickers use in order to lure in their victims. FD Signifier speaks about this in two of his most recent B-sides. And one of the main tactics is the lover boy method. So within this context, it really makes you wonder whether the lover boy side of his persona is genuine, or is it just a clever ruse masterminded by the true dominant side of the Drake persona, which would be Drake the demon. So Her Loss was really a tipping point and a tripping point in the narrative surrounding Drake's brand and in the way his brand is or has been received by the public. What my deconstruction and my research has allowed me to see is that the incel slander that's directed towards Drake exists almost exclusively in an ILO, what Pew Research refers to as a political ILO. The incel energy accusations that we're seeing directed at Drake almost entirely are coming from progressive, left-leaning spaces on the internet. And so there is a world where Drake can continue to thrive and be successful while completely ignoring the grievances that progressives and the left have with his brand. Because what progressives might see as problematic, someone else might consider edgy, wise, cool. Progressives hated the fact that Fenty had Johnny Depp walking its catwalk show, but did the right hate it just as much? So what we need to keep in mind, back to the scammer hands. So what you need to keep in mind is depending on where Drake intends to evolve his brand and what kind of audience he's trying to cater to, there is a world where he can thrive while completely ignoring any of the grievances this incel subtext has to the diss. And this is especially true if Drake is trying or intends on evolving his brand in a kind of supervillain character. Some people say that this supervillain arc, as opposed to this alleged incel arc, is the logical next step for the Drake brand, because he has very clearly grown out of this nice guy, happy to be here persona. And the only natural next step is for him to lean into a provocateur vibe. A provocateur vibe that is less close to full-blown inceldom and more inspired by the manosphere. There's a French saying that I love from 𝙧𝙚𝙖𝙡𝙮, and it goes as follows: Qu'on parle de moi, en bien ou en mal, l'important c'est qu'on parle de moi. Which translates as, talk about me in good or bad. The important thing is that you talk about me. There is an outrage economy out there. Outrage is a very real and lucrative hustle, and he might just choose to capitalize on that. But I choose to remain positive based on what I've learned out of studying and analyzing Drake's entire body of work, is that he very clearly paints a picture of a man and a character that is self-aware, questions himself, and seeks change. The question is, as one writer asked, does he care enough to change? Does he have the balls and the conviction to step away from the crowd in the game that he's playing and establish a new standard, a new positive standard for how people talk about women? The ball is almost entirely in his court. So the question is, which pill will he choose?